Hi, I'm Carla D. Tillery, and welcome to the Chair Chronicles. I'm your life coach and your favorite auntie. You know, that aunt that is so not afraid to tell you the truth and help you see things just a little clearer, and you love her advice. Well, as a certified life coach with over 2 decades of experience, I'm very passionate about helping you find your happiness. So pull up a chair and let's have a talk. Welcome to the Chair Chronicles. I'm so excited because we are doing a very important special, LA.
Yes.
We have in the studio Mr. Kevin Hardy.
Yes, welcome.
He is a dear friend of both of ours, and we're so excited that he's going to join us today on this episode. And we're going to be talking about literacy rates among Black males particularly.
Yes.
Good. And it's important because even with the COVID crisis, we've seen a lot of different reports coming out talking about the potential gap that our young students are going to have now as a result of having to learn virtually and some of them not having the necessary equipment and just really being off kilter because it's not a traditional in-person setting.
Right.
So, Kevin, you're also a social studies teacher, right?
Correct. Yes.
And you're rare. I already know that because I didn't grow up having a lot of Black teachers. Did you?
No.
Yeah.
I could count them on one hand.
What about you? Did you have any Black male teachers?
I believe I didn't have anyone until college.
Till college. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Big gap.
Big. That's huge.
Big.
So 12 years of learning.
12 years of learning.
And so what made you decide to become a teacher? How did that become a part of your passion that you're doing this?
I think it was during college because I tried a few different things because the rumor was that if you wanted to go into teaching, there would be no financial stability. Teachers don't get paid. They're overworked. So please, they were discouraging people, especially males. If you were going to take care of a family,
right.
You could not be a teacher. So I think trying my hand at business and wanting to do that and just finding that was just not my niche. But in a classroom, I found myself naturally just teaching and just trying to share information. So once I embraced that, I knew I was home.
Wow.
I knew I was home.
That's good. Despite what you were hearing about the negative impacts of teaching,
Absolutely.
the income, all of that. But one thing I thought was good, they always had the summers off. I wish.
Now that was a good deal for me.
So both of my parents are teachers. And so just knowing, again, watching them and having that opportunity for them to be off the whole summer and they're spending time with us and we're taking vacations. I mean, that was I think that's the most interesting draw about being a teacher.
Right.
The summers off.
Lots of
Well, I'm sure your parents would want you to mention that after their whole 180 days, you need those 2 months off to recover. If you're going to go back and teach somebody's child in September, you need to mentally debrief. Off. Yes.
Right.
So you can still
my mom actually started a homeschool program during the summer.
Wow.
She really wanted us on the cutting edge and like on top of it when we went back to school. And I know that at least maybe most, I'm not quite sure about other states, but at least in Connecticut, during the summer, there always was a summer reading program.
Yes.
And that was the hardest. And I have 2 sons. That was the hardest thing to get them to do was to read.
Wow.
So do you have a love for reading?
I have it more as an adult. And I tell this story, and hopefully you will not share this with my mother because I may get in trouble.
Don't listen, Mom.
But usually when you would be going outside and you had some fun and you were playing outside, riding your bike, either playing sports or playing tag, whatever you were doing, if you did something wrong, they would say, you have to stay in and read. That was a lot of what African-American parents would say. Well, you're going to have to read a book almost as if it was a punishment instead of a pastime or a reward. So I don't know that was in every household, but I do know that was predominant. If you had to read, it was seen more as a punishment often than something that you would think of as fun. They would want you to know how and to do it, but I just remember those conversations.
Wow. Yeah. I don't think I had that rule. I wish I did now. But I want to read this statistic. It comes from the National Assessment of Educational Progress. This is a 2017 report, but it says that it found that just 18% of Black 8th graders reach reading proficiency. And I thought that was a staggering statistic. It also said in 2015, it found that only 17% of Black 12th graders were proficient at reading.
Wow.
That to me is an extremely low number.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this is a national study. So they're looking at educational systems all across the country. And for our Black students to be under 20% proficiency in reading is absolutely staggering.
Right.
And sad because it's consistent across states that this is something that is consistent for us. But what I found, I think, in the early grades when the Black males would really be captured and really be open sponges, there is not a lot of books that are catered to their interests.
That's right.
And reading is often built through interest. If you can capture interest, then you can build on it. And I think on the entrepreneur side, people know that because that's why you see the different series from the same author, because they know if they can catch you, that you're going to go to buy the next one. But a lot of teachers are not concerned often, or as concerned as they should be, to provide a diverse library for students to read. It's just like, we want you to read this and this only. And if you aren't interested in that, they will perceive that as defiant or and not push you to read what you can read.
So oftentimes, at least my experience with my sons and their friends was that they didn't find books that were interesting. And that was one of the huge kind of like turnoffs.
Right.
And so one of the teachers really strongly encouraged my youngest son in particular he loves sports. So find those books that dealt with sports or athletes that have like this strong kind of historical knowledge about how they have overcome so many different challenges. And those types of books became very interesting to him. But it was very difficult in the early ages to get him to read. He struggled a little bit, and we put him in additional kind of support after school to make sure that he could get the reading that he needed to practice. Because sometimes when they call you out in front of the teacher and you in front of the classroom, you miss a word, kids clown on you like crazy.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So, it's difficult for kids to kind of read out loud, particularly if you're not a strong reader. If your parents are not reading to you. I mean, that was something that we did all the time. We read before they would go to bed, and we tried to make reading a part of our lifestyle, but it was a challenge.
Right.
It really was.
With my nephew, I raised him, and that's what I did to get him involved with reading at a younger age. He loves sports, all type of sports. So I really found books that geared towards his interests. And then, with the newspaper, I would say, sit down and read the newspaper, So I think
How
it
did
really...
that go? They read the newspaper?
He actually read the newspaper. And so now
good.
he is like, oh, you ask him what's the current event, he can tell you.
And he's on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's excellent.
Yeah. It was definitely the driving force. And even in the summertime, I was like, okay, you have to pick 5 books that you're going to read. And we would go to the library. He had a library card. And he was really excited about that. And I found, like you said, if you capture them at a younger age and get them used to reading and just having that quiet time where you sit and you read. And I love to read. I loved to read. I've always wanted this humongous library, in my study and all of that. That didn't happen. I actually threw books away, gave books away. But, I think if you continue to drive that, and that's the sad part, because not everyone has that opportunity where there's someone that's driving that and encouraging that, But even now, he's still, he's broadened his horizons as far as authors and really seeking out those books by a lot of Black men.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think for me, one of my sons, and after talking with him through school, it was an inspiring teacher that got him to read more. And it was a male teacher.
Yes.
Nice.
It was a male teacher, and I think that's what we definitely need more of. Yeah. We need more teachers, period, because I know they're, the information you got about everything that will discourage you still, to the point where they were actually pushing full scholarships, to get teachers to, incentives, incentives, for people to become teachers. Yeah.
It's tough. And I think you brought up a good point, both of you, that some things just by the role model, some things are taught, some things are caught. And just by seeing a black male who is intelligent, who is relatable, who will carry books, who will seek to find those interesting places and to relate, really can open up the mind of a young black child in a different way than they might not be able to before. But just by seeing them, in a lot of ways, they see themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. And so whatever we can do to kind of encourage that next generation and the generation after that to become teachers, I think we should. I mean, there's always this push, even nationally, for the salaries and for protection of teachers and all of that. Right. But I do think we as a community have an obligation to kind of encourage our grandchildren and those children to read, and then to also consider it as a profession.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
It used to be very honorable. And so, and I don't know as much if it's considered as honorable.
Well, it is now because of COVID. Because all these parents are going crazy.
Yes,
they're like, I don't know how you teachers
I don't know
done
what
this.
to do. How did you do it?
You take care of my child 8 hours a day, and I can't do
Absolutely.
it.
Right.
We are essential now.
You're
they
essential.
say.
That's right.
But hopefully it will not be short-term memory loss once we get back to
more normal
conditions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I know at one time in Connecticut there was a big push for black male teachers. I don't know what happened. I don't know, what happened with recruiting efforts, but I know that there was a lot of information out there. And I found that some of the men that I knew that wanted to go into teaching, they were leaving Connecticut.
Yes,
they were going to other places that had a higher salary, better districts, more resources, so I kind of wonder if it's more than just that. It's more than just not having the interest. I believe that economics is also a weighting part of it as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And combined with the national budgets for education and teachers having to come out of their pocket for school supplies and for helping their students. Have you experienced any of that?
Early on, especially, I was buying so many supplies out of my own pocket. But it was more for enrichment. So I need to say that. So there were some things that were provided, but to give them the quality of lessons that I wanted, it took some enrichment, whether we were going to be creating our own board games. This is before or creating our own settings for historical backdrops, to do different things. I wanted to create something for them that they would get if they were paying for the education.
Wow.
So
great.
that
That's
was
good.
important to sow that seed and to make sure into their minds. And when I run into those are the things that they remember. Those deposits that make a difference.
Right. Yeah. That's excellent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there were more teachers. I wish I had experienced, more black teachers and even black male teachers as well. I did have a few black female teachers. I had one that I can recall. But again, it's not a lot of them out there. And even more so now, particularly in certain regions where you have a low minority rate to start with, then it's even harder in the school system for our kids to find teachers that look like them, that can relate to them, that understand their language and understand what they're dealing with, so that they can help them really in the academic setting.
Another small point, but I think it's important, is it depends on who's recruiting you. So if you're looking for, more black male teachers, you really want to have a black male often to try to recruit, because you can sort of address some of the questions or concerns they may be having about that district, just as being a black man and what it means to be a black man and a black male teacher in that particular system. So sometimes if you're sending someone else, you may not be able to really seize the moment like you would want to, because
that makes sense. Yes.
they really want to they have some different questions and some different concerns, that you can be a little bit more proactive in settling some things and reassuring them. And then also knowing that they have a support, because it could be extremely lonely when you're one of 50 staff or one of 70 staff, and just that someone will be there to support them and want to make sure that they're doing well is important.
Right. That's good. So how many are you one of few at your school or in your district? Do you have a sense of how many other Black male teachers there are?
I have been in my one district, thankfully, for about 29 years.
Wow.
And with that time period, there's been times that I was the only one. And there's been times that I've been one of 3 or 4. Currently, there are 2 other Black male teachers in my district. But when I came to my school 29 years ago, there was a Black woman who had been there for about 27 years. And she had migrated here from North Carolina, and she worked with me for a year. And she said, I've been waiting 27 years for you.
For you. Wow.
For you.
Wow.
So now I can go on and retire. And so those words, I never forgot that. So she was, passing the torch to me for that particular building. And so, as I said, there's been some years that it's just been me, but I knew it was my calling. I knew it was the place that I needed to be.
And why social studies? What attracted you to those subjects? Because, a lot of students, they suffer in a lot of different subjects, right? But I don't think I've heard any student say, I just love history.
Yeah, you don't find many. And that was also a later love, I think, for me, appreciating it. I was always a pretty decent student, but I didn't love history. But I think the more that you begin to study it, and if you can present it in a way that it really can be engaging, because if you're just talking about certain dead presidents, no one is going to want to be engaged in that. But if you can engage them either in interest or something that ties to their cultural background or makeup, you really can find an aspect of history that engages you. So it became more my passion there to make history fun. I used to have the students answer my phone, social studies is great. So it was that subtle brainwashing. We didn't say hello. We said social studies is great. Social studies is great.
Awesome.
Social
so that was your
great.
salutation.
That was my salutation.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was.
This is why you're such a phenomenal teacher, though.
Exactly.
To come up with ideas and things like that will pull
engage and
engage and connect with them. Right. That's awesome.
That's great.
It had to. If I didn't love it, they would have known. Right. Just like a child will know if you don't love them, if you're not engaged with them. So it has been a great love and passion to just give that part of myself to motivate the next generation.
Wow. Yeah. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now? I know you've got some special projects going on. So what are you doing?
I am very excited that of this new opportunity, because although I do get to engage the youth, this time we're working on a project, a book study for men. And this book study is going to center on better manhood. We're going to be delving into a book by Dondre Whitfield called Male versus Man, where he really looks at what the difference is between being a male and being a man. And it was a journey that I really wanted to take with a group of men for mentorship's sake, but also, as the Bible says, iron sharpens iron. And our experiences are different, but at the end of the day, despite what the media tries to project, we are a people that love each other. And we are a people that supports one another. So this is an opportunity for us to come together in our prospective community and really support one another, and to destroy the myth that Black men do not read, or that they only come together for sports, or only come together for money-related things, only come together in regards to women or social aspects. And those things are fine, but we are not one-dimensional. So it was really important for me to stress that, and especially it's never too late to grab a hold of the love of reading.
Yes.
So even if that was not your experience educationally, to let people know that whether you're 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, 70, etc., you
Right.
can still grab a hold to this.
Right. So how do people participate in this book club?
Yeah.
Well, first I have to say for all the men out there that this is a book study. We're going to save the book
Study. Okay.
Excuse
club
me.
Excuse us.
for the ladies. We're going to save the book. That just seemed a tiny bit feminine for me.
Okay,
So we're going to
okay.
call this a book study.
A book study.
Book study.
So,
Book
so we
study.
want the men to know that this is totally masculine. to participate in this.
No women allowed. Okay. All right. We get it.
We will save the book studies for the ladies to continue. And if there's any men who are involved in book clubs, no offense. But this in itself is a book study.
Study. Okay. All right.
So we will
We
be...
appreciate the nomenclature and the distinction between a book club and a book study.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm starting something. If anybody else wants to
Yes, you
continue
are.
with the book studies, I will leave my Cash App at the end of this. But you can get involved in two ways. There's an Eventbrite where you can sign up. You can look for my other wonderful job is that I pastor St. Matthew's Church. So if you look for this, it will be done under that guise. You can look under Pastor Hardy's book study under Eventbrite, or you can call the church, St. Matthew's Church in New Haven, Connecticut. And the number there is 203-777-0472. And our administrative assistant will be more than happy to take your name. And once we register you, and it is free cost, all you have to do
Excellent.
is get
Like
the
free.
book.
We like
Wow.
free.
So
All
it
right.
is
And it's
free.
done virtually, right?
It's done
So
virtually.
Anyone, anywhere can
Anyone,
participate.
Oh, that's
anywhere,
great.
and we will get you the Zoom information, and it'll be done over the series of 5 Mondays, starting
Okay.
November 9th, and then ending on December 7th, just from 6 to 7. So I'm not trying to
great.
take a lot of your time. I know that everybody's busy, but it's an investment we're doing for yourself. And for sometimes as men, we don't take as much time for ourselves to feed ourselves as we
Right.
should. But I think if there's one thing this pandemic has taught us is that life is short.
Yes.
And that it's okay to have a little time out.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
As long
right.
as you're
And
doing
this is
something
great
with it.
timing too, because not only because of the purpose and what the outcomes will be,
Right.
but I think also in midst of COVID, when you can't really get out with a whole
Right,
bunch of
right.
guys
Right.
and get on the court
great
or
way.
get on the field,
Yeah.
this is an excellent opportunity, as
Yeah.
you say, to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And to start reading and understand the difference between what you say, a man and
A male.
Male
and a
A
male.
male and a man, yes.
Yeah. Well, this is
Wow.
exciting. This is
That sounds
good.
really
well,
good.
Congratulations on this initiative.
Yeah.
So remember, it's a book study.
It's a book study.
It's a
Okay,
book
we got it
study.
straight.
For all the guys out there, this is a book study.
Yes,
Yeah. And this
absolutely.
is great. That is open to everyone.
Yeah.
You can participate. And I'll make sure the information stays readily available. But this is great. And so what led you to actually kind of taking action on this?
Right.
I mean, you're a teacher, you're a pastor, you're working with the community. And what led you to actually taking action on this?
I think in light of COVID, and again, seeing how fleeting life can be, and just being very passionate about this for the men in my church, I realized that God wants everyone to have an opportunity to have this. So if I could open it up and through the virtual means, it was there for me. It was not something I had to recreate, but I am extremely passionate about seeing men be the best men that they could be. And it really, we used to say it takes a village, but I think that we partner with each other to help one another. So this is an opportunity for me as I serve to be blessed.
That's good.
Well, this is great.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I think with that partnership, I'm sure there's going to be so many other things that you
Come
can
out of it,
tap
yeah.
into.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's not only is it helping the literacy because you're allowing people to dive into a book and read.
Right.
Right?
yeah.
So it's going to open up this huge dialogue
Oh, yeah.
among men.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you know men, you know how much we love to talk. So
Is that so?
that's gonna be joke right
Yes,
there.
yes, yes.
But I think the wonderful thing that I would like to see at the end of this is that the men will be able to to tell me where they are. So instead of me telling them where they are, each man is going to take an individual and collective journey as they read this book.
Right.
So it'll take some time that they can individually reflect on what they need and get what they need from it. But we also will have something that is extremely powerful. We will bring back the power of community and just being able to community support. So not just because there's such a myth that we tear each other down, we bring each other down, but we really, again, that's a myth that just has to be destroyed. And so we have the opportunity to hold our brother up as our brother's keeper.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that's
Exciting.
one piece. And I believe that men are by virtue leaders.
Right.
So we see through so much of society that our lives are dehumanized and not appreciated
That's
and
right.
undervalued.
Right.
Yes.
This is also an opportunity to let us know and to remind each other that we matter, and that not only do we matter, but we're leaders.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
In
good.
every
is.
avenue, we are God-made, God-given leaders.
Wow. Well, I know this is going to be hugely
Yes,
successful.
I'm excited for you.
I'm so excited for
Yes.
our men.
Our men. Yes.
And we talked not too long ago on another episode just about the value of the black man. And this is just that continuation of that partnership. We have to build each other up.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right?
And we need more visionaries like you.
Absolutely.
We definitely need that. And I think
Oh,
it's inspiring.
Yes.
It's inspiring.
And so glad
excited.
to have you in the chair here at the
Yes,
Chair
Thank you,
Chronicles.
Glad
ladies.
to have you.
Man, I survived. I survived
We weren't too hard on it.
the chair. I survived the chair.
Wonderful.
Well, that's great because reading is fundamental.
Yes, it is.
And we want our black community to improve those literacy
Oh,
rates.
yeah. We have to bring
It's
those numbers up.
important and it's absolutely necessary. So go find a book.
Yes.
Get to reading. Find your love and tap into it right now. So after you vote, please join in and log in to Manhood.
Mission, message, and motivation.
That's it. Join Mr. Kevin Hardy, pastor of St. Matthew's. He's going to take you on that personal journey. So thank you for tuning in. We hope that you would share this podcast, share it with other folks. If you have some comments out there or you want to share your experiences, whether it be with your young children or whether it be about your personal experiences with reading, please share. We would love to hear from you. And as always, thank you for tuning in on
The Chair Chronicles.